Hi, I'm Damien, and today I'm going to be talking about national savings and investments, and specifically premium bonds. Let's take a look at your chances of winning and whether compared to other investments they're worth it. I just want to say thanks to Peter Saville for suggesting I cover NS&I. No messing about, let's get to it. The first thing we need to understand is, who are NS&I? National Savings and Investments can trace its history back to 1861. They offer a range of savings and investment accounts and are state-owned, meaning they are controlled and operated by the government. They have a huge 150 billion under management, and the idea here is that the government guarantees any of the investments that you make in these products, meaning these investments are as secure as you can get. The government can then use this pot of cash whenever they like to pay for things, like COVID-19. NS&I currently fund about 9% of the total UK debt, making it a massive proportion of the overall UK wallet. Over half of all the funds invested with NS&I are stored in their flagship product, premium bonds, with a total of around 91 billion invested, which is up from 70 billion 2 years ago. But what are premium bonds? To put it simply, it's a lottery. Each bond you buy for £1 is one ticket for the lottery. The maximum amount of tickets anyone can have is currently £50,000 worth. Prize draws are monthly, and prizes range from £25 all the way up to £1 million. But this lottery acts a little differently to the national and Euro millions. In those lotteries, whenever you buy a ticket, if you don't win, your money's gone. With premium bonds, it acts like a savings account. So for every £1 bond you buy, as long as you don't cash it in, that's entered into the draw every single month. And you can sell your £1 bonds and take them out whenever you like.
I've got a golden ticket.
I wasn't really sure whether to use the Cartman scene there or the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
'Cause I've got a golden ticket.
But I went with Cartman. I guess now I've just shown both anyway. Moving on. 22 million people have premium bonds, with a total value of £91 billion. Let's just stop and think about that for a second. For a financial product that's only available in the UK to have 22 million people using it when the UK population is only 60 million people, that means 1 in 3 people have premium bonds in the UK. And not just 1 or 2, the average holding is around £4,100, 90 billion divided by 22 million. That officially makes them the UK's most popular investment, but popular don't pay the bills. So let's figure out if they're worth it. In order to come to a decision on whether premium bonds are worth it or not, we need to dissect the reasons that they've historically been so popular and see if they're still relevant today. Let's start with security. This is a government-backed investment, meaning you can always get out exactly what you've put in. From an investing perspective, it doesn't get much safer, and this is why a lot of people love putting their cash here. But on balance, in the modern world that we live in, all banks and building societies are protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, meaning if the bank went under, the government guarantees to give you back your funds up to the tune of £85,000. You can only put £50,000 into premium bonds. So to put it simply, you can store more money in a bank account securely than you can in premium bonds, which makes the security element of the decision kind of null and void. So let's move on to the next one. Tax incentives. One of the best things about winning money is that it's tax-free. Historically, this was a massive plus for premium bonds, as even a basic rate taxpayer could expect to pay 20% on any interest they receive on cash, eating away at the total return that they make. But any amount of money that you win with premium bonds, you don't pay a single penny in tax. Sounds great, right? But in April 2016, the government introduced the personal savings allowance, allowing all lower rate taxpayers to receive up to £1,000 a year in interest, tax-free. With the current best high interest savings account available, that is around 65 to 70k in cash savings that you could have, and the gains would be tax-free. You'd need to be winning about £84 a month in premium bonds in order to hit this level. But even with £50,000 invested, the chances of doing this in a year are only about 5.6%. If you're a higher rate taxpayer earning over 150k a year, then you don't get a personal savings allowance, and for that reason the tax-free incentive of a premium bond might be attractive. But for 95% of people watching this video, the introduction of the personal savings allowance has really leveled the playing field and removed the advantage away from premium bonds. And the tax incentive only really matters if you're a high earner or you've already used up the personal savings allowance elsewhere. Sorry, premium bonds. Next. The returns. The current advertised rate of return is 1.4%, meaning of the total pot, 1.4% of it is paid out in prize funds each year. So that means if you have £100 invested in premium bonds, theoretically you should expect to see £1.40 a year in returns. The problem is there are no £1.40 prizes. The minimum prize is £25. So what that means is for someone to win £25, a lot of other people have to lose their £1.40. Another way to explain this is, for every 20 people that have £100 in premium bonds over the course of a year, 19 of them will earn nothing so that one can receive £25. And even grimmer thought is how many people have to lose their £1.40s in order to pay out the two £1 million prizes. Literally thousands of people will win nothing a month so that 2 people can win £1 million. The problem is that while they can advertise a rate of return, in reality it all comes down to luck. A person with £100 invested could theoretically win the top prize, and a person with 50k could hold premium bonds for 60 years and never win anything. Let's look at the odds in a little more detail. The table on screen shows the amount of prizes paid out at each funding level, and the chances of winning those prizes if you have one ticket for 1 month. You'll notice that 90% of all of the prizes are in the lower category of £25, £50 and £100. And ultimately the odds of winning any prize in 1 month are pretty poor, with the chances of you winning a prize being 1 in 24,500, and with the chances of you hitting $1 million sitting at 1 in 45 billion. It's only really once you have multiple bonds invested over a long period of time that the odds become more attractive. But remember, every bond you buy enters the draw each and every month. It's not like you buy it and then it's gone. So of course it's possible to build up your holdings over time and increase your chances of winning as you go. For example, someone with £1,000 invested for a month has a 1 in 25 chance of winning a prize, or a 1 in 45 million chance of winning the big prize. And if you had this £1,000 in bonds and held it for 5 years, then the odds of winning $1 million dropped to 1 in 775,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Money Supermarket has a really useful calculator where you can play around with the amounts and timelines, so you can see what the odds are of winning. Just enter the amount, the time period, and then click the green box to see the odds. Just remember though, this is all based on average luck. It's easy to whack in 50k and put 5 years and think, sweet, I have a 1 in 15,000 chance of winning it big. Just remember, you could have that 50k in premium bonds for 60 years and never win a single thing. You could put the same 50k into fixed income investments such as corporate bonds and get a much more reliable and predictable income. Or you could invest the 50k into high yielding dividend stocks and probably receive an expected income of around £2,000 a year, which knocks the socks off the expected return of premium bonds. Not to mention that the original £1 doesn't grow in value. So if you're not winning anything, inflation decreases the spending power of your pounds over time. Inflation, the increasing price of goods and services over time. Any way you slice it, the return on premium bonds is pretty terrible. And there's plenty of other places that you could invest for a much better return. So the tax incentive is basically null and void unless you earn over 150k or strike it very lucky. The security element is outdated and is now standard with all UK banks protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And the returns are poor and unpredictable at the low end and seemingly impossible at the high end. Doesn't look good, does it? So why do people continue to use them, and can they ever be justified as an investment? I think they can. So much so, I use them myself. But in the face of everything I've just said, how could that be the case? Why would I use such a poor investment? Let's take a look. First of all, the reason that such a high proportion of the UK population uses premium bonds can be understood through gambling psychology. We all know the house always wins, but gambling is still as popular as ever. Just take the owner of Bet365, Denise Coates, who paid herself a modest £323 million last year. Wonder what the student loan deduction was on that. A Cambridge University study into the psychology of why people with gambling problems continue to gamble highlighted 2 key triggers for the behaviour: near misses and personal choice. So near misses first. In traditional gambling, like the lottery, this is looking at your ticket and seeing the number 23 came up when you picked 24. Ah, so close. I nearly picked the number 23 as well. I picked 24. In reality, no you didn't. In premium bonds, 95% of all other prizes are made up of lower end prizes, millions and near misses. As each bond has an equal chance of winning the £1 million prize as the other, a £25 win feels so close to $1 million. It's almost like you got picked out of the hat at the wrong time, and if your ticket had just been next, maybe you'd have won the $1 million. So I might as well see what happens next month, because this month I was so close. Then there's personal choice. This is the belief of gamblers that they somehow have influence over the game. A study done in Las Vegas found that if you took a gambler to a roulette table and said to them that they could put the ball on themselves instead of the croupier, the gambler would bet more money, because they believed that they were in control of the result. A more relatable example is the fact that most people don't trust the lucky dips and always use the same lottery numbers every single week. This is your personal choice. This is your element of control. Does anyone want to play a game that they feel that they don't have control over? The personal choice characteristic manifests itself, in my opinion, through the security element that premium bonds offer. The fact that you can withdraw your funds at any time gives you the perception of control. You reassure yourself with the notion of, well, if I'm not happy with the results, I'll just take my money out. The reality is you find it tough to do that because the one week you don't play the lottery, what happens if your numbers come up? The reason 1/3 of the UK population has on average £4,000 invested in premium bonds is because no one ever takes their money out. demonstrated by the fact that 2 years ago the average holding was 3,100. So not only do people not take their money out, they increase how much they have. The logic there is, okay, I'm not winning at the minute, so I'll add more money because that improves my chances of winning. It's these emotional triggers that make premium bonds so popular. It's a lot sexier waking up one day and seeing that you've won £25 versus checking your bank statement and seeing the same amount of interest going in every month from a fixed income investment that you purchased. But we can also never underestimate the power of what if. One of my favourite things to do on a Friday afternoon at work is sit chatting to my colleagues about what we'd do if we won the lottery, which normally centres around first class flights to Vegas and buying lots of cheap terraced houses in Manchester satellite towns such as Bury. We all like to dream, and premium bonds are an investment for dreamers. And this is where I feel the justification for using them comes in. Leave all the statistics, odds and probabilities at the door. Everyone has a little room in their life for something that might just change it all. The National Lottery is a perfect example of this. While it might not be the TV spectacle it once was, shout out to Mystic Meg.
I'm Mystic Meg.
Okay, we know. 70% of UK adults play the lottery every week. Because we all know.
It could be you.
My thoughts are, rather than playing the lottery, set up a regular direct debit into premium bonds each month. That's what I do. I have £30 a month going into premium bonds, a fraction of what I save on a monthly basis. I have a chance of winning £1 million, but most importantly, you haven't just thrown the quid down the drain.
I got a golden ticket.
The perfect way to build up an emergency fund, in my opinion, while still scratching that very human itch of dreaming of hitting the big time. Let's face it, statistically speaking, premium bonds are not going to be a good investment, and they're probably not going to make you rich. For that, I'd use other types of asset classes. For an overview of the options that are available, just click here. Or maybe it's here. It's going to be one of the two, so just click there. I personally use premium bonds as a place to build a rainy day fund, and I just like the fact that I might hit the big time. One last fact for you. Turns out 85% of people watching this video won't be subscribed. That's like seeing there's a party going on the other side of the road, and rather than going over and knocking on the door so you can go inside, you just stand on the garden and look through the window. Don't stand on the drive. Click subscribe and come inside. We got wine and Skittles. Oh, fuck, I ate all the Skittles. Jess, we need more Skittles. We got guests coming over.